Hello again in this video clip series, my journey to God in a very secularized world. I have all of the messages of Our Lady to Gobi on my hard disk, and I did a little search through the messages for the word truth. And I came up with some very interesting, illuminating messages for our times, at least up to 1984 for now, in particular for priests. Since these messages of Our Lady to Don't Step on Gobi cannot be found on the internet in English, I took the time to put some of these messages here regarding the attack against the truth. As we quickly approach, we need to look what's going on today and try to connect the dots to figure out what's really going on, so as not to be deceived, to put the pieces of the puzzle together that's going on right now, in particular in the church, because the devil is very sly. He disguises himself as an angel of light. As we read in the night prayer from St. Peter on Tuesday for Compieta, before going to bed, we read, "Be sober, be watchful. Your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour. Resist him firm in the faith." It would be nice if we could see this roaring lion so as to identify him as the father of lies, instead of believing that the devil does not exist, as so many Catholics believe today. This resistance to the devil is not only the resistance to personal temptations, but perhaps even more so today. It is the resistance to not go along with the stampeding herd in a world filled with confusion and beautiful lies by the mass media, by the schools, and by almost all the religious institutions. To be politically correct, not godly correct. Who established politically correct? The Freemasons with the mass media. You might find interesting an article that I wrote, Sister Lucia, final confrontation between the Lord and Satan will be over the family and marriage. And I included also in the there's in this publication, Orate Celi has published a translation of a remarkable interview originally published in 2008 with Cardinal Carlo Caffarra of Bologna. In it, he references correspondence he had with Sister Lucia, the principal visionary of Our Lady of Fatima. Here's the interview. The question is, there is a prophecy of Sister Lucia of Fatima which concerns the final battle between the Lord and the kingdom of Satan. The battlefield is the family, life in the family. We know that you were given charge by John Paul II to plan and establish the Pontifical Institute for the Studies on Marriage and the Family. And his answer was this, Cardinal Caffarra. He said, "Yes, I was. At the start of this work entrusted to me by the servant of God, John Paul II, I wrote to Sister Lucia of Fatima through her bishop, as I couldn't do so directly. Unexpectedly, however, since I didn't expect an answer, seeing that I had only asked for prayers, I received a very long letter with her signature, now in the Institute's archives. And in it we find written, the final battle between the Lord and the reign of Satan will be about family and marriage. Don't be afraid," she added, "because anyone who operates for the sanctity of marriage and the family will always be contended and opposed in every way, because this is the decisive issue." And then she concluded, "However, Our Lady has already crushed its head." Talking also to John Paul II, you felt too that this was the crux, as it touches the very pillar of creation, the truth of the relationship between man and woman among the generations. If the founding pillars is touched, the entire building collapses, and we see this now, because we are at this point and we know it. And I'm moved when I read the best biographies of Padre Pio on how this man was so attentive to the sanctity of marriage and the sanctity of the spouses, even with justifiable rigor on occasions. Does this come as any surprise to those watching the events currently unfolding in the Church? We have referenced various apparitions in the past that are related to this. And then he talks about what I just mentioned in the last video clip, Our Lady of Good Success. And also Our Lady of Akita, Japan. Our Lady of Good Success talked about how the Freemasonry want to destroy the family, and she said, in this supreme moment of need for the Church, the one who should speak will fall silent. We talked about that before. And then also Our Lady of Akita, Japan, she said, the work of the devil will infiltrate even into the Church in such a way that one will see cardinals opposing cardinals, bishops against bishops. The priests who venerate me will be scorned and opposed by their confreres. Churches and altars sacked, the Church will be full of those who accept compromises, and the demon will press many priests and consecrated souls to leave the service of the Lord. Catholics are not required to believe in even the most approved and venerated private revelations, but many of us choose to do so. Does this battle relate to the famous discourse Pope Leo XIII, who he was alleged to have heard a vision between Christ and Satan, which led him to compose the prayer to St. Michael? How long the final battle will last and what will come after, we don't know. Is it possible to know? But the notion there is, at this point, this very moment, a battle taking place for the heart of the Church and the souls of the faithful is no longer in dispute. There's a great battle, as we know. It is also interesting that Cardinal Burke said after the Synod in October 2014, he said, many have expressed their concerns to me. At this very critical moment, there is a strong sense that the Church is like a ship without a rudder. This was reported by Religious News Service. You can find it in my articles, the references. But what Cardinal Burke actually said was, like a ship without a helm. Without a helm. That's very different from a rudder. You can find that. How many men in their various God-given vocations fall silent when the souls entrusted to them are in great spiritual danger? It's interesting on the world over, on 2015, June 4th, Raymond Arroyo had an interview with Cardinal Casper, and also both with Father Gerald Murray and Father Robert Royal, chief and editor. Robert Royal said, the Catholic thing expressed the lack of logic and coherence with Catholic teaching in Cardinal Casper's proposal to offer Holy Communion to the divorced and remarried. In the end, Father Murray, a canon lawyer, said that Cardinal Casper has not answered the objection of Cardinal Caffarra regarding the validity of the first marriage. Father Murray said, if the first marriage is still in existence, Father Casper's proposal is shot down. Father Gerard Murray was referring to what Cardinal Caffarra said in an interview on March 2014. One of the questions in this interview was the following question. The possibility of allowing the divorced and remarried to receive communion is spoken about. One of Cardinal Casper's suggestions was that they should undergo a period of penance that would bring them into a full readmission into communion. Is this now an inevitable necessity, or is it the accommodation of Christian teaching to contemporary circumstances? Cardinal Caffarra answered like this. He said, those who make these suggestions have not, at least up to now, answered one simple question. What happens to the first valid and consummated marriage? If the Church admits them to the Eucharist, she must render a judgment on the legitimacy of the second marriage. It's logical. But, as I said, what about the first marriage? The second marriage, if we can call it that, cannot be a true second marriage because bigamy is against the teaching of Christ. So the first marriage, is it dissolved? But all the popes have always taught that the Pope has no authority over this. The Pope does not have the power to dissolve a valid and consummated marriage. The proposed solution seems to imply that although the first marriage continues, the Church can somehow legitimate a second relationship. But in doing this, the proposal demolishes the foundation of the Church's teaching on sexuality. At this point, we have to ask, why then can we not approve of unmarried couples living together? Or why not homosexual unions? The question is simple. What about the first marriage? No one has yet answered this question. In year 2000, John Paul II, speaking to the Roman Rota, said, "It is clear that the Roman pontiff's power does not extend to valid and consummated marriages. And this is taught by the magisterium of the Church as a doctrine to be definitively held, even if it has not been solemnly declared through a definitive act. It is a technical formula, a doctrine to be definitively held. And it means that on this point, there is no further discussion to be had among theologians, nor doubts among the faithful." I finish this video clip here. May God bless you and Mary guide you.